Welcome back, NoDQ Galaxy, to a brand new edition of the NoDQ Review, number 264. I am the moderator, Virtue, being joined by this week's elite panel of the NoDQ Review. Of course, Aaron Rift is here. The simple man, Noah Foster, has returned. Walter Cruz, the reliable one, is here. And this guy Experience is like his third appearance or so on the review. What's going on, everybody? Noah, I'll start with you. Welcome back.
Hey, how you been, Virtue? Been a while. Hello, NoDQ Galaxy and family. I've been very well. It's the holiday season once again, which means the lighter workload for me. And I figured it's been a while, so why not come in and talk some wrestling and other activities with y'all here too on the video. It's good to see y'all once again. Doing very well. Just got done calling and reacting to WrestleMania 8 and also Ricky Dragon Steamboat and Ric Flair. Raging Cajun Clash of Champions 6. Got done watching some Wrestle Kingdoms. It's been a great weekend, to say the least. It's good to be back.
Here we are. We got some topics to talk about, so I will be back with you shortly. Okay, Walter, the reliable one. What's up?
What's going on? Good to be back. I was off last week too. So I'm ready to get into it. Nice to be joined by Noah. I haven't seen you in a while. The review, I should say. I see you every Saturday on the open mic night, but I'm ready to get into it.
Stay tuned, Walter. We'll be back to you. And this guy Experience, what's up?
Hey guys, long time no see. First time working with Noah, so hey man. And ready to get into these topics. It's a really good wrestling season right now, so
stay tuned. We'll be right back at you. Now, just so the NoDQ Galaxy knows, we will not be doing a show on Christmas Eve. Wait, when's Christmas? Monday. Next Sunday is Christmas Eve. No show. But that Thursday, December 28th, we will be back in our old time slot, 8 p.m. on a Thursday night in between the holidays. So do not forget that, NoDQ Galaxy. And a shout out to people in the chat, such as Colin Andrew, the Cleaver. He is here in the chat. Aaron, what's going on?
I'm doing well. I'm very excited for the new year. 2024 could be one of the biggest years in wrestling, and I'm looking forward to tonight. We already have a large turnout so far. People watching live, we very much appreciate it. Tell your friends, anybody you know who watches wrestling, have them check out this NoDQ review. We are live. Anything can happen. Things can get very heated on the NoDQ review. We debate, we discuss, we break down various topics in wrestling, and sometimes things get a little personal. We've had people walk out. We've had people get mad because I hype up their channel too much. Jeff Meacham Network, be there every single night for their great content. Noah Foster is on there. Walter Cruz is on there. Jeff Meacham Network. If you're not subscribed already, what are you waiting for? Jeff Meacham Network. And the NoDQ review will be back on Thursday, December 28th. And Psycho Jet Black, one of our favorite super chatters. He's always entertaining. He's always sending in some funny super chats. He sent in $2 tonight, and he says, this guy, what are your favorite experiences? He wants to know, what is the this guy experience? What is the origin of that nickname?
Well, it's funny. What was it back in 2019 when Vince changed the Viking Raiders to the Viking Experience, and you were memeing. It was like one of your reviews. I think it was like the SmackDown and Raw. You were memeing any new tag team with the Experience, and I'm like, you know what? And I used to be just regular this guy, like the original NoDQ Universe shirt. I was just this guy on there, so I was like, you know what? I'm gonna change my name to that. So since then, I just kept it.
There you go.
Love it. All right, let's get the ball rolling on this.
And, you know, there is no such thing as overselling that's not entertaining, such as what Aaron does from time to time. Because look at the great Shawn Michaels versus Hulk Hogan at SummerSlam. That is such a joy to watch back and all these years later. So I'm just saying. All right, first topic we're going to touch on, AJ Styles returned on SmackDown. Now, he came out and initially was helping Randy Orton and LA Knight against the Bloodline. AJ Styles, these wrestlers, man, they take it serious when they're out injured and they come back because they always look lean, mean, jacked upper body like they were, you know, hitting the weights. AJ looks like he's ready for, you know, hey, I'm a serious contender for the Royal Rumble type thing going on here. But in a twist, he clubbed LA Knight in the back. So there you go. We got something brewing right there. So what's everybody's opinion on what has happened with AJ Styles returning? Now, Mr. Tito on NoDQ.com in the opinion section said they probably should not have done that heel turn so quickly. Go read that article, check it out. If he's here in the chat, I'm sure he'll start chiming in. But Noah, I'm going to start with you here. Let's talk about AJ Styles' return.
It's interesting considering AJ Styles was originally involved in the Bloodline angle. And of course, he was taken out by Solo Sikoa. Again, it was originally going to be AJ and Cena versus Solo and Jimmy at Fastlane. And I considered that they were thinking about AJ versus Roman, the Tribal Chief Roman, not the Roman he faced in 2016 in that trilogy for the WWE Undisputed Universal Championship, one of the opponents that the Tribal Chief has yet to face. Now AJ comes in with a chip on the shoulder, seeing that LA Knight got the rub, got the shine, and he's the guy right now in the people's eyes. For me, it just kind of diverges LA Knight away from going after the title and going after Roman. I think it's a sub-program now between LA Knight and AJ Styles while they're focusing on renewing Roman Reigns and Randy Orton. But it's good to see AJ back, where I thought at the end of the day, he was at the tail end of his career with everything he's gone so far and everything he's done for how long. He looks in phenomenal shape, pun intended, and I think it's going to be a great filler grudge program. So I'm all for it, but at this point, that's the way I interpret that whole angle I saw on Friday night. And yeah, AJ Styles and LA Knight, Randy Orton and Roman Reigns, not a bad soft card from Royal Rumble so far.
And you know what we always need? No, we need that number one guy in the Royal Rumble to always be somebody that can go a long time. And AJ might be number one in the Royal Rumble this year. He just looks like he's ready to last 60 minutes before he gets thrown out, just before the final few guys are in there. I don't know. We'll see. And some people are in the chat are like, do people really read those columns? Yeah, they do. And there's comment sections underneath them too. Maybe you don't. Maybe you should start. And then you can start debating these people, and you can maybe send in a thing to Aaron Rift, and he can make you a columnist, and you can write as well if you have so many opinions you want to get off your chest. Okay, this guy experience. What's your take here on AJ Styles' return and the fact that he clubbed LA Knight? By the way, thank you, Noah, for that. Did not thank you, but go ahead, this guy experience.
Since just actually AJ become one of my favorite wrestlers of all time. I mean, I've seen some of his stuff in TNA, but the great AJ Styles is back. He is jacked and he's ready to kick LA Knight's behind. I mean, he already started. This feud should be really good. I don't know. I've only seen like a couple of LA Knight's matches. I don't really know his style per se. I don't know if their styles will match. I mean, pun intended as well. Styles will match each other. But in the Rover Ring looking AJ Styles should be putting on a great show against LA Knight. And the fact that they already have a built-in backstory because he took his place several months ago. I mean, it should be a pretty good match. I don't think it's going to be necessarily a grudge match, but.
So let me ask you this, because, I observe and I do my homework, and you're in this chat quite a bit, and you keep up with NoDQ every week. And we know before we went live, you were catching some, footage on SmackDown and what happened at the end there. What wrestling products do you like? Do you watch the shows each week, or do you keep up with it just on YouTube and Twitter? How do you consume wrestling today? Because you're not on all the time, and I've asked other panel members this. We know Noah watches it all. What do you do? How do you catch up with it? Because it sounds like you didn't even watch it SmackDown, but you were catching up before the show.
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't have cable or anything like that, so I primarily use Aaron to keep up with everything. And a couple other YouTubers are primarily Aaron, like he goes in depth in his analysis of each and every wrestling show. So the main stuff I keep up with is SmackDown, Raw, and the PLEs. Sometimes if it's a spicy Dynamite, I'll check out his reviews on it, but for the most part, I usually skip it. No offense, I'm not really that much into Tony Khan's universe. And
we're going to be talking about that a little bit. But you're a social media consumer. That's good. I mean, a lot of fans, that's how they keep up with it. They don't want to watch everything. They only want to watch what people are talking about. So, okay, understandable. Check out LA Knight more, though. I think he'll grow on you.
Yeah. You know what's funny here? This guy experience, you were put in the hot seat by Virtue. He was testing you, and you had to please him by mentioning how you're not a big fan of Tony Khan, and I think you popped Virtue. So very clever, very well played.
I'm being serious. I don't really care that much about it.
I got a nice little funny thing to say that makes sense about Tony Khan when we get to that topic. And it'll come. I think it'll make sense of why I feel the way I do about it. I mean, I think Noah will even smile about it. Anyway, thank you, this guy. Walter Cruz, you've been waiting. You moved in your house into a different location so we can enjoy what you have to say here about our topics tonight. Speak on the return of AJ Styles and the subsequent heel turn. Was it too much? Did too much happen at the end of SmackDown? What do you think?
I don't think so. He looks great. He looks like AJ Styles, the house that God built, man. That body looks ridiculous. And he's only been gone, what, 2 months, 3 months? It hasn't even been that long. He's just been hitting that gym hard. And who knows? I think we're all making assumptions. Who knows that he's full-blown heel? Just because he attacked LA Knight, he didn't attack Randy. He didn't attack, and he just wants to go after Roman. And LA Knight slid into his spot, Noah said, when he was gone. So it could just been I want to take out the person who took advantage of me being out, and that's it. Who knows if it's full-blown heel? However, if it is, it's kind of smart because Orton just came back, big baby face. CM Punk came back, big baby face. Does AJ Styles want to get overshadowed by having too many baby faces there? So it's good that he was a heel. I'm glad to see him back. I don't think it's too much for me. It's just an overshadowing thing. WWE is smart enough to say, we don't want him to get lost in it, so we'll make him a heel so that CM Punk and Orton have people to go against when they're these big returning baby faces.
Okay, gotcha. Aaron, you've talked about this after SmackDown. Anything you want to add? Any other thoughts that have come to your head since Friday night?
I did obviously read the spoilers for SmackDown. I posted them on NoDQ, and it's not exactly clear what direction he's going in, but I feel like he will be a heel just because there are so many hot baby faces in WWE right now. It could be similar to Drew McIntyre, where it's not just all of a sudden he flips the switch. It's going to be a slow process. AJ Styles, he's going for Roman Reigns still. He wants to be the Universal Champion, but also LA Knight took his spot with John Cena at No Mercy. And it makes sense for him to go after LA Knight. But I could definitely see AJ Styles going in that darker direction. And this is a spoiler, but it's not really a significant one. He was dressed in all black when he came out for his promo. And a lot of people are comparing that to the AJ Styles run towards the end of TNA when he was going up against Aces and Eights. He was kind of like similar to Sting in 1997, where he was just on his own and he had no emotion. He just was a man on a mission, not talking about the tag team, but just a lone wolf doing his own thing. But what about Anderson and Gallows? Where do they stand in all this? I guess we'll have to wait and see on that. Now, we do have a couple of super chats here. First off, Psycho Jet Black sent in a $2 super chat. He says, does Jeff Meacham Network have Ryback? They do not have Ryback, and that is smart. Ryback on any outlet is not going to be good, although it would be interesting. Like if Ryback was on the NoDQ review, I think people would tune in and would be intrigued by it. But I would be surprised if Ryback would last the whole stream because I think it would get too chaotic even for him. I know he likes controversy, and let me just throw this out there. If he wants to be on, we would have him on. We would love to have Ryback on just to have a good time and see what happens. You know, live streams are always fun, and you never know what's going to happen on the NoDQ review, and you never know what's going to happen on the Jeff Meacham Network. So make sure you guys subscribe over there, Jeff Meacham Network. Search for it on YouTube. You're going to see some tremendous content throughout the week. Every week they got open mic night, they got talk wrestling, they got Stat Boy, they got JJ Williams, they got all their Disney streams. So much great content. Jeff Meacham Network, check it out. Now, I got some more here. Let's get to that. Dr. Bropio sent in a $2 super chat, says, cry me a river and say yes to no DQ, not my best. Cry me a river, of course, a reference to Jungle Boy Jack Perry, who may or may not be returning soon. Who knows? Who really cares at this point, quite frankly? But we'll talk about AEW more here in just a moment. And this guy Experience, thank you. He threw in a $2 super chat here. Says, I need to get on the AJ Styles workout plan. Yeah, I mean, him, MJF is looking jacked. And even Cody Rhodes brought it up on a recent interview that he did, how MJF is putting the time in the gym. A lot of these guys are looking great. So,
Aaron,
yeah.
MJF, he's getting his WWE body. MJF, he's working on it.
Even Punk.
Yeah, CM Punk's looking great too. Like, when
Punk.
you're on national TV and you want to be taken seriously, you're out there in your underwear. So you got to put the time in to make yourself look good if you want people to take you seriously. It's not like shaming anybody or anything, but yeah, if I'm out there on national television in my underwear being paid $1 million, I'm going to put the time in the gym, You got to look the part. And if you're going to be a larger than life superhero like character, don't do drugs, but put the time in. You got to diet and work hard, So
take care of your body as much as your mind. Also, Aaron, but it was Fastlane that tag match happened. Not No Mercy. No Mercy's NXT.
Oh, NXT, No Mercy, Great Balls of Fire, Backlash.
That was a good one.
Whatever. Great Balls of Fire was actually a good show, despite the name. Anyways, we're caught up, Virtue, so we can move on to the next topic.
And, at some point, we'll talk about this devil character in AEW, but, let's have it be revealed first. This speculation stuff, whatever. But what I do want to talk about is, and we've talked about this before, how Tony Khan continues to use social media to just as a sob story. I mean, it's one thing to go on there and you promote all your shows. And a lot of times when he's doing podcasts and he's asked tough questions, he diverts, he changes the subject, and then he promotes his shows. Well, that creates an awkward situation. He feels like he's under attack. Don't do those podcasts with those dirt sheets then. Okay. Be what like Vince McMahon and Triple H are. And if any company has been attacked over the years by fans disgruntled more than any other wrestling company in the history of wrestling, it's been WWE. But you know what? They don't acknowledge it. They roll on with their plan. Now, once in a while, they'll try to spice things up to make the fans happy, like the Daniel Bryan era, okay? But Tony Khan reacts to former wrestlers in the business, dirt sheet writers, reporting things, or, former wrestlers, and it just has to stop. And what I want to point out is you aren't being targeted. He's not being targeted. He's just making it look like he is. He wants that sympathy vote. I don't know who he's placating to, why he's doing this. I mean, at least it's on social media and not on actual television as a character. But this guy Experience, what is going on here? There's no social media attack. Fans criticize what they don't like. Unfortunately, he needs to realize this. A lot of fans are smart to the business, so we know when there's problems. And yes, All In was great at Wembley Stadium, massive numbers. But fans point out, hey, you're not doing so hot over here. And CM Punk didn't work out and he left. Take constructive criticism or keep on rolling like Vince McMahon always did. Didn't care. What do you think here? I mean, every weekend something like this pops up, but he is not being targeted. WWE gets way more criticism than AEW, and he does. He wants to be number one so bad in his head. What do you think, this guy?
A quick question: how old is Tony Khan? That's where I was going to start with.
I don't think he's 40 yet. If he might be about 40. But here's the thing, and I'm gonna wait till Noah talks about this before I bring this up. But go ahead. He's probably about 40.
Okay. Well, I mean, then that throws my entire theory into the trash can.
Someone's saying 40, I had 41, so right about there.
Same
41
difference.
years old, Virtue. He's 41 years old.
Yeah. Right. So when Vince was in his 40s and early 50s, I mean, he already made WWE into the conglomerate that it already is. Not as big, like it was on its way to get like AJ Styles workout level. But it was on its way. I want to say it's kind of a generational thing and a combination of social media, like you said. Again, if social media was way back in the late '90s as it is today, then I don't know if we're going to have WWE as powerful as it is right now, because you need a powerful man that's steadfast as Vince McMahon is. We can criticize Vince, and yes, Vince gets criticized all the time, or he did when he was still in the spotlight, whatever. And so did WWE, because it's the number one target. If you're the target, just like they used to say in WWE promos, like, "Oh, I have a target on my back because I'm the WWE champion," then yes, you have to deal with all that stuff. The wrestlers themselves, or superstars, whatever company you want to talk about, they have targets on their back because they're in the spotlight. You are in the spotlight, dude. You are a millionaire. You're the son of a billionaire. You have a spotlight on your back. You're going to deal with it. Lucky for me, and unlucky for me, I'm not that rich, so I don't have that kind of pressure. I still have regular pressures in my personal life, but he has to deal with it because of the level he's on. He's running a multi-million-dollar company, so he has to deal with that. You're going to get criticized. Take the criticism to not heart necessarily, but take it in, write it on board, figure out what you can do to make it better. But you're not going to be able to please everybody because it's impossible. As D. Bryce said back in his Hill run, the Planet's Champion, what a great run. Fans are fickle. Fans are fickle, so just deal with it. Just build your company to a better place where it is, and you can just not necessarily either, but kind of look what Eric Bischoff did in the past. Look what Vince did. Look what Vince Russo did, and just kind of not necessarily copy them, but just try to learn from their mistakes, because people keep comparing AEW to the past WCW, and you're pretty much falling to the same trap holes that they have. And you're just like, the difference is we have social media and you're worried about that. Who the hell cares about the fans without getting getting your athletes, your superstars, or wrestlers to the next level, so you can compete. We know no one's gonna ever beat WWE because they had a head start against WWE, and they won the wrestling war back in the late '90s or 2000s. They won, but you can still be close second place. Now they're far second place right now, and you don't be far second place. You want to be right there next to the first place winner. Simple as that. I mean, no offense, Noah. I'm sorry.
Fine, brother.
So, all right, Noah, a couple things right here. I think you'll appreciate these. So the first thing is Tony Khan it's like he's Batman, but the younger, Batman before Bruce Wayne got older, and he really needed to rely on an Alfred. And I tweeted this earlier on X.com. Tony Khan needs an Alfred Pennyworth, okay, to tell him, don't do these things. This is how we need to do. And look, he was like criticizing Disco Inferno on Twitter. He got upset at a wrestler who's long retired, that does podcasting, lives in Las Vegas, is a bouncer at a strip club. In real old school business, you would have brought Disco in after that instead of like lambasting him on Twitter, and you would have made him criticize your product on your stage, and then had wrestlers you want to get over go out there and beat them up. That's how you do it. And he did, and this is insane. And of course, the diehards will get behind it. Now, you're a big all wrestling fan, right? All the wrestling you watch, Noah. And I know you're more about matches than the sports entertainment part, but please have at it here, man. Tony Khan, to me, when I see something like that, you make money. He didn't make money with CM Punk like he could have when there was controversy. He yells at former wrestlers on Twitter. He needs an Alfred. Noah, what do you got to say?
You are definitely correct about the Alfred, where he needs somebody with a steel. I'm like, sir, I believe there's a more intelligent approach to this conversation that could result in a confrontation that would provide dividends for your foundation. That being said, as I was listening to the Christmas canon on the world's largest violin versus hearing Tony Khan's smallest violin, why he's literally objectifying to somebody that's more irrelevant than the 70s, the Bee Gees, and not the Roxbury, but I digress. I said it once on the open, might not say it again. People of the internet, hear my voice. Don't be a Twitter twat. Unfortunately, Tony Khan, he is literally a billionaire owner that chooses to live for the internet wrestling community. And he needs to stop that utter nonsense. I mean, again, before AEW was even existing, all right, WWE has always been criticized. The redheaded stepchild of the industry, TNA, was criticized. NXT was criticized. It was the NWA itself because it wasn't sports entertainment centric. It was a Triple H professional wrestling product centric based on independent talent. There's a greater way to conduct your business and make money off it than what you're doing right now. You need to stop it. You need to get somebody in charge of your social media. Publicity, there's no such thing as bad publicity. I think that's a load of crap. At this point, all you're doing is hurting your company's image. It reflects in your ticket sales. It reflects in the literal physical appearance, not only of you on screen, who gets thanks to the fans and shows a kind heart, but it also reflects on your personal behavior and your qualities as a human being. Seriously, okay, if you can't take criticism, here's a real simple suggestion. I suggest people do the same. Protect your mentality. You see this device, there's a thing on the side, it's called a power button. Watch what I do here. Beep. Okay, there you go. That being said, seriously, stay off Twitter or find somebody else that can actually handle your business on Twitter. Or if you really want to consider Disco Inferno, somebody that you really want to, make an example out of, bring him into your product, welcome him in, and then have somebody like freaking Lance Archer put him for a barbed wire flaming table. I don't freaking know. Seriously. It's just utter nonsense to me how much people feed into the social media bullcrap behavior. And whether they are against it or for it, there's no end to it. And I find it utterly stupid.
I mean, if it's his gimmick, but like, you know what I mean? Because I'm all about promoting your gimmick, but like when you're an owner of the company, you really can't troll and just stir up the pot. And what he wants, Noah, he wants those diehard AEW fans that has his back, that he wants them to come out and say, yes, Tony, you're right. And Disco Inferno's irrelevant. And this person's irrelevant. It's like he needs that. He needs to read those. And it's just, that blows my mind, especially when you're running Jacksonville Jaguars as well. And you got your hands on all these big pots. Don't be worrying about wrestling social media. I mean, it blows my mind. Walter, no, you got something else? Or
no, bottom line, you literally just said the definitive sentence. Don't worry about wrestling social media. Simple as that.
Leave it to the fans who have fun with it. But like, if you're working in the business, dude, they came off of All In, right? Like, so build off of that. Take that momentum. And instead, it's just been, the whole Punk situation. And then he gets mad about getting any criticism. And it's crazy. I've seen him reply to fans on Twitter that have 10 followers. It's like, just don't. Like, you don't need to worry about that. Put that energy into making your product the best that you can. Like, if you have this devil angle coming up, make people turn their heads and be like, damn, that was actually good. Yeah, okay, Walter.
That's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Focus that energy into your brand, your product. You can still appeal to your core fan base, but let's bring some new people in. It's okay for casual fans to mix in with diehard wrestling fans. It used to happen. Okay, Walter, what would you like to say on
Tony Khan needs to grow thick skin. You're a public figure. How many people scrutinize celebrities? Like, just grow thick skin. What he needs to do is hire somebody to mediate and do everything for his social medias. He doesn't need to be in control of his own social media accounts. Like, he obviously can't handle it. He's proven it, and he's easily offended or gets ticked off at the smallest thing. So hire a mediator, hire somebody, a publicist, something. You need a whole image change at this point, because people see that it bothers you, and guess what's going to keep happening? They're going to keep on doing it. The more people troll and see that it affects you, they're going to keep doing it. It's basically like the internet's a bully, and once you stand up to it, they stop. But you keep showing the bully that it's affecting you. Like, he needs to do something, but he truly is a clown. I agree with Mr. Mayhem there. He's an ass clown, like Jericho used to say.
And Jericho is there, and like Brian is there, and it's like, man, these guys love their paychecks. I'm sure they're wrestlers, they're carny workers at heart, and it's all about their income, solidifying the future for their family. So they don't want to ruffle. Like, I get it, but man, I just wish somebody had the balls, and maybe Punk was probably the only one. And look what happened. Like,
yeah,
I used to say they need their Undertaker in the locker room. They don't have that Undertaker. WWE had Undertaker, who everybody respected. He ran the things backstage. The problem is
they do need one of those.
Tony's just, it's basically a baby. He's just like, everything affects him. It's like, why? He's just, I don't know what you do. That was a great analogy with the Batman before, when he was always depending on Alfred and he couldn't do things on his own.
I mean, let's be honest, Vince was still the coat of many colors, but like, he always had his Alfreds, whether it was Bruce Pritchard, Pat Patterson, like, you know what I mean?
Yes.
He had his crew running Wayne Manor, you know, with it.
And if you can't handle this, what are you gonna do? Like WWE had to handle a steroid, go against the federal government, handle a steroid thing. They had to handle Chris Benoit's suicide thing. They had to handle so much. Look what you're not handling anything, and you can't handle this. What happens if something else like humongous happens? Like, how are you gonna kill it? Like, how are you gonna rise above it if everything is? It's like, I don't know. He doesn't know how to run it. Vince had to go through hell and back, sexual harassment scandals, steroid scandals, and he always came out the other side fine and barely unscathed. Like the last one with the sexual harassment, he came out with a few scars, but he's still there. So it's like if Tony goes through anything remotely similar to that, I think it's the end of AEW. Like he couldn't handle it.
The best part about the whole thing that made me want to talk about this is Disco Inferno reposted, quote posted, and he's like, thanks for the content, because Disco, you know, like all the wrestlers from the past, they do their podcasts. He does one with Conan, so like they're gonna have fun talking about it. So I guess there's some light on it. I guess Tony Khan's giving these wrestler podcasters that are irrelevant something to talk about on Monday. But okay, Aaron, over to you. And I saw some super chats come in.
Yes, we do have a few super chats. There was a comment in here if I think that AEW is losing credibility as a wrestling brand. To a degree, but they still put on great wrestling shows. Like the wrestling on Collision was really good. Now, is it compelling from a storyline perspective, character development, and all that stuff? Like that is very debatable. But as far as Tony Khan's comments on Twitter and going on the press conference and saying that AEW is always under attack. I've been doing this for 25 years now, and people were crapping on WCW on a regular basis. There was a show called WCW Live with Jeremy Borash and Bob Ryder, and people would call into that show and just troll those guys. They would trash WCW and bring up the ratings, and they would insult Vince Russo, and Jeremy Borash would just get upset. He would react to it. And we're seeing the same thing here over 20 years later with Tony Khan. He took the bait from Disco Inferno. You don't do that. And like Walter said, if you start reacting, it's going to create a snowball effect, and everybody's going to keep coming at Tony Khan. You're going to be under constant attack if you keep showing people that it triggers you. He should not react at all. Vince McMahon, I don't even think he ever went on his Twitter. Somebody was running that Twitter for him.
Oh, no.
And Triple H probably uses it, but if you've noticed, Triple H has never responded to somebody trash talking him or trying to say, oh, WWE sucks and what you're doing is the wrong direction. Triple H doesn't reply. Like, he pays attention to the numbers. He pays attention to the attendance numbers and the network numbers and all the other business metrics, merchandise. He looks at those numbers, and if those numbers are down, he's figuring out a way to get those numbers up. Is Tony Khan doing the same thing with AEW? That's hard to say, because they go out there and Virtue, we've talked about this many times, they go out there and they produce a wrestling heavy product for a niche audience. But are they trying to grow? That's the question. You look at the attendance numbers outside of Wembley Stadium, they're way down. Like, they're struggling to put people in the seats. And the numbers for Collision are down with all the great wrestling. And they had a really great show. I do think that Collision was a great wrestling show, but 450,000 people, like that's their ceiling now. Like they should be doing way higher than that. Bryan Danielson, who's going out there with a broken orbital bone, his eye is shut, and he's bleeding all over the place. They should be doing much bigger numbers for that. I feel bad for him that he's going out there and he's busting his ass so hard. All the guys and girls are going out there and they're working really hard. They're going 100% every night, and the numbers should be higher, but they're not. So you have to really look at that and figure out how can we get these numbers up? What can we do to build our brand and get more people watching and get more people to the arenas? That's what they have to focus on, not going on Twitter and getting mad. And the thing is too, like when AEW started, they were the shiny new toy. Everybody was in love with AEW. And if you said anything negative, people would crap on you. And it's kind of gone in a different direction now. I'm seeing tons of criticism about AEW, and now it's like the hip thing to do, to crap on AEW. It's definitely changed over the past few years. So I think that they need to work on just trying to get those numbers up. And with the media rights deal coming up, they have to get those numbers up if they want to get a better deal and actually be a profitable company. Walter?
I want to say we're all part of the NoDQ universe. We're part of Jeff Meets Network. None of us want to see AEW fail. People misconstrue what we're saying. We want to see good competition because it's good. It's healthy, good competition. It gives wrestlers opportunities and the security and jobs, and it helps our YouTubes and the websites. It helps traffic towards us. So why would we want it to fail? A lot of people have this thing where it's like we bash AEW and we want it to fail. None of us want it to fail. We just want the good competition. We want a good product. That just because we can criticize something doesn't mean we want to see it fail.
There's a difference between being a Twitter troll and being constructively sound in your argument and judgment. Why text is just text, the meaning behind it could speak more values. Progression means competition. Competition breeds more opportunity. Arguably, right now, the wrestling industry has a deeper chance of opportunity in building quantity and quality than ever before seen in this business. AEW can add to it if they proceed in the right direction, and that's all we want for it. And it certainly cannot happen if you keep trying to dictate it by freaking arguing with idiots on social media.
Yep, I don't need to say anything now. Noah covered me.
Thank you for that, Noah. I did want to get to a few of these super chats. Now, I did mention Warner Brothers Discovery. Well, I didn't actually specifically mention them, but just the media rights deal in general, that they need to work on that because they need to make more money in order to be profitable. Like there's even reports out that they're still losing money and they really need a significant increase when they have their renewal, if they get renewed by Warner Brothers Discovery, in order to become profitable. Now, Tony Khan, the Khan family, they're very wealthy, so they can bleed money for a while, but at some point you have to turn a corner and start making a profit. Like I don't know if doing a national televised independent wrestling show is going to be profitable long term, especially when they bring in more former WWE guys and they want to be competitive. So they want to offer big money, same money that WWE guys are making or close to it. In order to justify those salaries, they have to make the money in the ticket sales. They have to be able to get the merchandise and all these other business metrics. Those numbers need to go up. So what do? You gotta try something different. If it's not working, you gotta think of a different idea, maybe get some new creative people in the mix. We've talked about this time and time again about maybe a committee. Maybe Tony Khan doesn't do as much of the booking and brings in some other people. You know, they got to change things up a little bit and freshen up the brand. So I don't think it's necessarily damaged, but like it needs to evolve. Like every product needs to evolve over time and change with the times. So Michael said, if AEW loses Warner Brother Discovery to Raw, is that embarrassing? I mean, yeah, that would be very bad for AEW because they got to try to find a different network if that happens. And will they get a good deal for media rights if Warner Brothers Discovery drops them? Like that's a big question. And the numbers are good, you know, number one on cable for Wednesday night. Like that's not a bad thing at all. Like that's good. Collision and Rampage, those numbers are not so great, but also they're not ideal time slots either. So it would be bad for them. And Mr. Tito said Tony Khan has several Alfreds with EVPs but they suck.
They're not Alfreds.
not
He's like
Alfreds.
the Joker, and they're Joker henchmen. They go down just like that. Like that's how I would compare that.
The no names basically of the Joker that just add to the insanity that is the leader.
Yeah.
All the guys
Nice
you have
one,
to
though.
beat
I
up
like
when
how
you
he
face.
stuck with the theme.
All the guys you got to beat up when you face Two-Face in the game. All the little guys you got to beat up in the bank first.
Yeah, how's
That's
the
what it is.
coin flip work out? Heads or tails? See if it works in your favor or against you.
We got one more super chat here from Psycho Jet Black. He sent in $5. Thank you for that. Says, people like Tony Khan and the Young Bucks care more about being liked on social media than making money. It's the wrestling business, not friendship. And, you know, that is true. And I remember there was a time where I would be very upset if somebody didn't like what I was putting out. But over time, you have to come to terms with the fact that not everybody is going to like what you're doing. In fact, there might be a big amount of people that don't like what you're doing. You have to just try your best. And when you're running a business, if it's working, keep doing it. And if it's not working, you have to change it up and you have to go with your gut because not everybody's going to like what you're putting out. So you really have to keep that in mind. And that's part of the growing experience for Tony Khan, dealing with negative feedback and being able to move past it and continue building his brand. So this is a big test for him. You know, he was good in the beginning. It was the honeymoon phase for AEW when they started. This guy experience?
Yeah, quick question. So being that the wrestling's been around for almost hundreds of years, and professional wrestlers been around for a while as well. Like, what other things can Tony Khan and co do at this point to differentiate themselves from WWE and TNA? And at this point, as well as what other business strategy? He's a billionaire, millionaire, whatever. He can hire people to help him business savvy wise, but when it comes to the entertainment side of the whole business, like it's going to be hard for him to bring more eyes to the table because as a lifelong WWE fan, I watched WCW here and there when it was still around, but I was mainly, once I seen WWF at the time, I was hooked. So it's kind of hard to go to AEW. I mean, D-Bry or Bryan Danielson, he's one of my guys. I'm still mad that he's at AEW now. CM Punk when he was there, cool. Like, they have so many people I like. Chris Jericho, one of my all-time favorites as well. But that's not going to get me enough to always watch or pay much attention to them because they don't have the built-in fan base of myself, as well as there's no compelling storyline.
Make new stars that people care about.
Yeah,
people care about. The WWE on TV and the domestic audience is a 1.5 to 2 million audience. AEW Dynamite's half of the Raw, 750,000. There are fans to pull over. Wrestling fans will watch all wrestling if they like it. They will. And entertainment fans will as well. But how do you get some of that WWE audience? You don't have to copy them. But what works for WWE? Compelling characters that people can get behind. That's what AEW needs to do.
At the end of the day, to answer your question, as a television viewer, like, I watch the shows. I watched Collision on Saturday, and I felt like it was a little bit too predictable. Like, there's several things that could be changed. For one thing, I miss when the shows were unpredictable and you would tune in and you would not know what to expect. And this is an issue with WWE too. For any television show, you want to hook the viewer. And when it's a live show, you want the people to feel like, I cannot miss this show because anything can happen. You never know who's going to show up. You never know what kind of twists and turns there's going to be. That was part of the Crash TV era, though, with Vince Russo. It's definitely changed. But I miss that personally. Like, I want to tune in and not know what to expect. I want to be on the edge of my seat from start to finish. And these days, for all the shows, like, I feel like I can just go on YouTube and watch the clip. So that's one issue right there. How do they change that? I'm not the one that can really answer that. They got to bring in some people that are creative. and try different things. You know, they do have to experiment a little bit. You want to keep your core audience satisfied, but that's why I try not to criticize when they do something different. It might not work, and we've seen things that they try and it doesn't work, but I can appreciate when they do experiment and try different things with characters. Like, I like the Tony Storm gimmick. It's something different. So I want to see more like that, where, you know, you have different types of characters and they do the black and white with her. You know, I like the lighting effects. And we see that a lot in WWE with, you know, with Bray Wyatt and just various wrestlers come out there with different lighting and the music. You know, that's something they can work on, you know, bringing some different people for the music. I like the licensing of the music. You know, that's definitely a positive. Oh, there you go with the black and white. Nicely done, Noah. And the lighting, you know, that's stuff they can work on. And maybe just changing the format of the shows, like not having every match be, oh, I'm going to chop you, you're going to chop me, and we're going to kick out at 2 9/10 every single match. You know, you got to change it up and have a little bit of variety. There's just a lot of things. There's no one solution to the problem, but experimenting is part of the key. Like when WWF got hot in 1997, like they were just completely reinventing themselves. And that might be what AEW needs to do, is like a reinvention of the brand. And it's tough, though. It is tough. When WWE is doing well, it's especially tough. Copying them is not the answer, though. So they do have to try some different things and think outside the box. It is tough. And we feel like we've seen everything, but at some point, somebody out there is going to have this great idea that's going to revolutionize wrestling. I don't know who it's going to be or when it's going to be, but somebody's going to figure out how to reinvent the wheel and give us something we haven't seen. Walter?
Step 1, stop mentioning / acknowledging WWE on your product. Ignore them and focus on you. They mention WWE way too much and take jabs at them or mention like one of their wrestlers. Like, stop.
Tony Khan even said that that's what like the second brand does. And I think like he said that Warner Brothers Discovery gave him like a handbook and it says like to reference the top brand, and that's what other brands do. But it gets old after a while. Like when there's a good opportunity to do it, do it. But like this past Wednesday, like I felt like Chris Jericho had to mention Enzo Amore just so he could get a crowd pop. Like their segment was dying, and that was not a well-received segment. And I think that Jericho just had to throw that line out there to try and get a crowd pop. You know, they gotta not do that anymore, at least for a while.
I mean,
exactly, because now you want to see Enzo.
Exactly.
It backfired.
How you doing? I mean, the argument's still there whether big bills more over than big cash. But that's a different conversation for another day. I mean, Triple H said best, adapt or perish. That is evolution. I don't think it's impossible to reinvent the wheel, but it certainly is one of those things you can figure out trying to do. Again, reinnovation literally redefines anything in and out of the wrestling business, in and out of creativity, in and out of business, period. Why do you think shows like Shark Tank exist, looking for original ideas? It's just one of those things where you can't be afraid if something isn't going to work unless you don't try it at all. And you can't be afraid to see if somebody is going to work better for your company unless you give them a chance at all, whether it's in the ring or on the mic. It's one of those things why I like Collision. I think it approaches both in ring and backstage fairly a balanced point. And all the matches don't necessarily feel the same if the outcomes sometimes feel like they might be predictable. Dynamite, though, it's like 250 frames channel serving that's just being sprayed in your face at high velocity. And while the in-ring action's good, sometimes you kind of lose sight of that with the fact that you can't figure out what you just saw before they go right into the next thing. I think the greatest strength of AEW is they try and focus themselves as sports-eccentric, competitive. I think these tournaments is probably where they exceed the strongest in trying to stand out in something you haven't seen in a long time in this business. It's outside of that where I think they stumble. But again, you can't only focus on that strategy. And this whole interpromotional idea of bringing wrestlers in from other companies to be part of your product and showcasing, that's kind of a good idea to, you know, bring the shine and bring more eyes to other things of business. But does that help grow yourself? Versus just maybe kind of like, you know, dwindle a little bit, share the audience versus expanding it. Again, that's another whole different conversation. But besides, like you said, changing the presentation, looking at your roster versus who you don't have, because there's over 150 actual wrestlers, keyword wrestlers, in the AEW roster, men and women combined. And also, stop pigeonholing your women in the freaking 9:10 to 9:30 time slot, primarily on Dynamite. They gave us something further on Collision. I'm just saying. They gave us 2 matches and a backstage segment in 2 hours. You have no excuse. So, again, try something different. If you're going through prepared changes where the fact QT Marshall and other people have left your company, hopefully they're changes for the better, because that's all we want. We want to see the business succeed. And for that to happen, AEW needs to succeed. And for it to succeed, it needs to grow.
And one last thing, and I got a super chat here, and then we'll get to the main event. When you have something that's catching on, you really have to capitalize on it. Like Wardlow, for instance, like that guy, they should have put him in the world title mix, and they never capitalized on his organic momentum. Like that was a big mistake. And some of the other acts in the company that got really hot, Ricky Starks, like that guy, a lot of people like him, but then you have Edge, Adam Copeland coming out there and calling him a dollar store knockoff of The Rock, and Jericho saying he's a less charismatic version of Enzo. They're basically saying this guy Ricky Starks is a second-rate wrestler. Like he's not really that good. Like
he's not original.
Like you want the babyface to insult the heel and get the pop and all, but like by saying that, you know, we're kind of like, you're right, Ricky Starks, he's not really that good.
That's when you bring in Enzo, let him run his mouth, and have Ricky Starks beat him up. I just don't understand why they don't do business.
And Miro too.
Certain people, it's insane.
I just think of like how they brought in Miro and they did that whole video game gimmick with him, and then they finally started to get on the right track with him, and then they took him off TV again. So it's like he's on TV, he's off TV, and they've done that with a lot of guys. Like House of Black felt like they had some momentum, then they disappeared, then they came back. And part of this is that they just have too many people under contract, and that's a whole other topic. You know, we could talk about
with
maybe
everybody.
Tony Khan doesn't want to fire anybody. And of course, people would complain, you know, as we mentioned earlier, they're fickle. They'll complain. They'll say you're firing people. You're no better than WWE. But I mean, nobody wants to see people lose their jobs. But at the end of the day, if you can't use everybody, you might as well trim the fat a little bit so you can focus on a core group of guys. You know, that's the problem. They have too many people on the roster. And because of that, like guys never really have much of a chance to gain that organic momentum. So I've said my piece on that. I mean, we could talk so much more about it. We've already talked about this for like 30 minutes. Let's get to these super chats. Shout out to this guy Experience. He threw in a $2 super chat, says, need more Raw Underground chances. I miss Underground. You're a big fan of Underground, right?
Yep, it was pretty good. The few segments that they had, and then Shane was like, "I'm out," or Vince kicked Shane out, whatever. It was decent. That was during 2020, I think, and they were trying things, and that's what you need to do. You need to try things. Everything doesn't always work out. Obviously, we've had tons and tons of wrestlers not work out, unfortunately, but we had way more that actually worked out. So, and the same thing with segments. So you can try different things. AEW specifically, right now, WWE's in not cruise control, but they have what they need to keep going forward. AEW needs to try things like not necessarily Raw Underground, but just try something out there that AEW fans and people that are somewhat fans are not expecting, and then you can bring somebody in.
That was one positive thing about the pandemic, was that they were thinking outside the box, and not everything worked. Like that Raw Underground thing might not have played out long term, but at least they were trying something different and thinking outside the box. And we need more of that kind of stuff. You know, they have to try something. Hey, we don't know if this is going to work or not, but let's give it a shot and see what people think about it. You never know. Something might catch on, and you might strike gold. You just don't know until you try.
Exactly. Such as Roman Reigns and the Bloodline. Turning Roman Reigns heel
way back when. During the pandemic.
Now we're over 1,200 days, and Aaron, we're going to talk about Roman Reigns. It's been a minute, but he showed back up before the new year. and it's great to see him on TV. He was actually on the show for not just the opening segment, but had a backstage segment, came back out at the end. And during the promo at the beginning of the show, as Jimmy was all happy of what Roman was going to say, Roman's like, Solo, you're going to be the next in line to be the tribal chief. And then Jimmy, his sales deflated. That's great that they're kind of still keeping that kind of stuff going on for planting seeds for the future. So I want to know everybody's thoughts on that. And then the obvious, we've already kind of known about this. We're probably going to get, I would think, Randy Orton challenging Roman Reigns. Now, he did, but Roman didn't accept yet, so we're going to have to see how that actually happens. But for the Royal Rumble, so Roman has an opponent to defend his championship against. A lot of people complain he doesn't defend it enough. I've said Randy would be the perfect person to beat clean, finally to get a clean win heading into WrestleMania. Walter, I'll start with you on this one. Thoughts, Roman? It's always good to see Roman Reigns back.
It is always good to see Roman, and it's good that they're planting the seeds. We all said eventually he's going to be on an island by himself. We just thought it was going to happen sooner. There's going to be dissension. Then eventually, like Aaron said on the stream after our super chat, eventually the Usos can reunite. And then eventually you get the big babyface turn that Vince always wanted for Roman. Then you actually have people cheering for him instead of booing that you put him in the face, because he evolved and he would come full circle. He'll do a full 180 and become the babyface eventually. And they're planting seeds. And I think Jimmy did a good acting job, the way he was just ready. And I saw it coming because you can see him in the background getting ready, because he just knew that Roman was going to say Jimmy. And then when he said Solo, you can see the wind come out of his sails. It was freaking hilarious the way they did that. And then Solo teasing, he said, of course, I'm your brother in the background. Now you could praise that they said that on TV. You could say, you can turn that into the storyline that Roman saw that in the background, and it was like, so now you plotting against me or something. You can keep diving deeper and deeper in it. And I can't wait for the reset after WrestleMania. You save it after WrestleMania because you need us something like WrestleMania is usually the big blow off to stuff, and then you reset, and then you could have the dissension within the bloodline. So I think it's awesome that they're planting seeds now, and I can't wait to see where it goes. And of course, when Roman, we all say it, I've said it, that he's not on TV enough, but then he's that special piece that when he's on TV, look what happens. The good stuff just comes flowing, and it's
Did
like,
you see, Walter,
it's awesome.
as soon as his music hit at the beginning of the show,
Yeah.
everybody's standing, phones are up. You know, you do have people that boo him, but you have people that stand in awe, and it's just star. Like, you know, it was hard being a Roman supporter back when it was the Vince McMahon version of him. Like I said, and maybe this goes all the way back to FCW. I saw some, like, I was like, dude, this guy can do it. I think he can do it if you give him the right gimmick, and man, he's even blown my expectations away. And maybe because he's not there all the time. Maybe because it's like, you know, we didn't see him for weeks, and then he's there. This will probably be it till after the first of the year, and everybody there in Green Bay, they were lucky. They got to see him, and they enjoyed every second of it. He's
become a special attraction. Like, not comparing him to Taker, but it's like Undertaker at WrestleMania. You know, it's just something special. Like, it's just became its own main event, the streak. So it's like Roman is his own main event when he shows up by himself.
Just imagine this build-up. I know he hasn't had as many opponents as people would have liked during this run and clean wins, but just wait until his shoulders don't kick out. I mean, he could tap out, right, give up, but I think he'll get pinned.
Yeah.
Just imagine that second as that happens. And then remember when Undertaker lost to Brock Lesnar? I'm not saying people are going to be shocked, because I think we're probably going to expect it.
Right.
As soon as WrestleMania, but like then you're going to be like, damn, he did it. And then people are going to start going back and reflecting on that run for Roman. Oh my God, this moment for Cody, let's just say, was so special because Roman did this for so long. And man, that's how wrestling used to be. Remember?
The pop is going to be tremendous, and I'm going to be there at WrestleMania. I know that pop is going to go crazy when he finally loses.
I would be shocked if we get to WrestleMania and Roman's still champion. I'm not expecting it, but like I would actually be speechless. But okay, let's move on. Oh, Noah, what do you have to say here about the tribal chief?
It's one of those things at this point. I do wonder if the moment he loses the title will actually feel as big, as important for whoever does it. I mean, people again are saying Cody's going to finish the story, but I already said, and JD's already said verbatim, they missed that WrestleMania, they missed that Madison Square Garden, and I don't think the story needs to finish at WrestleMania, even if it's the bigger stage. But again, that's a different contest, but we are talking about Roman. As far as Roman goes, well, Jay main evented with him at SummerSlam. Jimmy has yet to have a one-on-one main event against him. I think they're brewing that maybe as the last stand of the Bloodline. And now Solo, proverbially, when you look at the connection with the Usos, Sikoa, Jimmy, and Jey Uso, Sikoa might be the silent Roman experiment in work. Now that Roman's calling him the next tribal chief in line. I've been saying it for the longest time. Jimmy Uso is just the guy desperately at Roman Reigns' side to remain relevant. And I think that plays out considering he's the guy that pulled the trigger first at Night of Champions. But Jay's the one that capitalized on it, and then he cost you everything. But Jay's now on Raw. He's a single star while Jimmy is still tagging alongside. And I think he right now is under Solo Sikoa. It's an interesting dynamic, but I also go back to when Solo Sikoa confronted Cody Rhodes and what did Cody say when Cody was defining his own legacy. You think you're ready, you're not ready. Well, is Solo Sikoa ready now? Paul Heyman at his side, still at his side. Roman Reigns acknowledging him, possibly be the next guy in line. Only time will tell. It's an interesting dynamic, but the whole thing about Randy Orton facing the Tribal Chief versus facing Roman Reigns from the Shield back at SummerSlam 2014. It's one of those things where I'm curious how they approach this. And is it as simple as what was said earlier in the chat? Is it Roman and Randy first, then Roman and AJ, and then you have Roman versus insert winner here at WrestleMania? Why right now most obvious is Cody, because Zillion already had a chance and he failed. I guess for me, I just want to see the moment that passes Roman whenever he drops the title is as big as what he's built. And at this point, I just don't know if Cody at the forefront can hold up to that even at WrestleMania, because again, Roman set the bar. To surpass it is one thing, to meet it is another. I don't know if either can be met, but I do think Solo Sikoa has the best chance considering, again, his bloodline. It's an interesting development.
Now, Noah, fast forward to WrestleMania night 2, if it is Cody challenging Roman again, would this scenario be a clean win for Cody? Jimmy goes to help. Doesn't get the opportunity to because Solo takes him out and then looks at Roman and just walks out and says bye-bye. And then Roman's finished off by Cody. Is that a clean win for Cody? Think about just the drama that would create. All the questions for the next night on Raw or the week leading after it. Like Roman not only lost to Cody, his bloodline, like Solo, the guy he anointed, said, no, we're not helping you. I mean, I'm just saying. So many possibilities, and I just want the title change, the torch pass, to be something that people will remember forever, because that'll make Roman's reign even more legendary, right? So it has to be. I don't want Cody to have people coming out helping it. I mean, just beating Roman clean, yes, that's what we want. The bloodline never even come out. Maybe it's in Hell in a Cell. Who knows? That's ideal, but I mean, WWE loves to overbook, so I'm just trying to figure out a way. But that's neither here nor there. But the fact is, it could be the end of the road for this bloodline thing in Roman's run, and it's getting closer every week.
I just wonder if Solo Sikoa is the guy that does it, or is it again the guy that's dictated the bloodline story the whole time? Paul Heyman. I keep thinking about Godfather. I know they did a Goodfellas skip, but again, Godfather. You think about that end scene. Or whatever mafia movie it is. I can't think of it right now. They're in the boat. They're fishing. The guy behind him goes into his blazer, pulls the gun, holds it up.
But I would think he would still be aligned with Solo, though. Like, I don't think he would abandon it. If he turned on Roman, he would align with Solo to give Solo a mouthpiece. But
yes,
again, think about what we're talking about. Just think about these things that popped into my head about how WrestleMania could end just because Roman on SmackDown said Solo is the next in line. Just the little things, right?
I think Jimmy, though, might be the one that snaps first again. And I do think there could be an exhibition prior to that where Jimmy faces Roman and Jimmy is using that example to Cody. And Jimmy's not a non-factor at all here because we're talking about Solo and Roman right now. We're not even thinking about Jimmy. So again, it goes back to the afterthought, Jimmy also too. So, but again, I can see, I still think again that Roman is going to be betrayed by one of his Bloodline members. Now, whether or not it costs him the title or it's the after effect, the Raw after Mania, or the SmackDown after Mania, that's kind of what I'm holding out for, if I'm being honest with you, Virtue. Again, I do want the moment to matter as much as Roman's reign has, if not more. Because, again, will the sequel surpass the pilot with a top star? I don't know.
Yep. All right. This guy, I know you've been waiting patiently. Go ahead. Let's talk about Roman Reigns. You're on mute.
Botch.
First off, let me acknowledge you, Virtue. For years, you have been a Roman guy. I always question, like, what does he see in this guy? It's just crazy since the Shield ending. I don't know why he likes him so much. He's copying of John Cena in a worse way. So I'll acknowledge you first. Like, again, you were ahead of the curve. So that's great. And then from there, Roman versus Randy at possible Royal Rumble, and Sikoa being named the next guy in line. I mean, this is going to be a interesting 2024. If they pull the trigger with Sikoa, then I mean, Jimmy's not going to have anything to do. I think this entire thing is Jimmy having to pay for his sins, if you will, for the DUIs the last handful of years. I mean, Jay hasn't had an incident in several years, but Jimmy had one as of 2 years ago, I think, like something like that. And on top of that, it's sad. I feel like Jimmy is Matt Hardy in this situation, while Jay is Jeff Hardy. And Sikoa, huh?
I said, there you go. It's a good comparison.
I said accurate.
And Sikoa is like some kind of, I don't know. He's just, and I see the presence of Sikoa. He doesn't have to speak or anything like that. He's a smaller Umaga without being crazy and outrageous, even though I miss Umaga. And to the life of me, I'm still mad they never pulled the trigger of him being WWE champion. It's still one of the biggest blunders that Vince have ever done, next to Mark Henry not beating Cena to be world champion. We're not talking about the past right now. If Solo helps Reigns, I mean, we know he's going to help him retain up until WrestleMania, but from there, it's kind of a question mark. Like, do you want to like push Roman past where he's going to be close to Hogan's reign? That's what I want to know. I don't know the level.
Yep.
All right. So do you want to
pass it in sometime in 2024 if he kept it at WrestleMania?
Yeah, so,
is that correct, Aaron? He would pass the 1254 or whatever Hogan had, or.
Yeah, but I mean,
or whatever, the 1400.
I don't think that's going to happen.
I mean, you don't know. Like, and knock on wood, I'm saying right now, I don't want, like, because we have things moving around. You always have the possibility of injury. Charlotte Flair, I'm still mad about that. So we don't know what's going to happen in the next handful of months up until WrestleMania. So they probably have the plans of taking it off, giving it to Cody finally. We don't know. Don't want the same thing to happen of the Hell in a Cell from last year. Same thing, God forbid, for Roman Reigns. We don't want. That's what I'm saying. It's a really difficult situation. Do you pull a trigger, take it off him so you won't get injured? Do his up and coming opponent like Randy? We don't want him. He's in the old upper age now too. Like, we don't know what's going on. But Sikoa, same thing with him. We don't know what's going on. This wrestling is a very dangerous career, and we don't know what's going to happen. But I just think Solo being the next up in line, it's going to be a good storyline. Jimmy's going to take the fall. He's going to get booted out. And Solo, I don't think he necessarily needs Paul to be his mouthpiece. But at the same time, like, I don't like his charisma is showing, but do we need him to speak is the real question.
Yep. Hey, I mean, that's the thing. You're already thinking about possibilities, right? That's what we've all talked about here. Okay, Aaron, I'm going to pass it over to you because I saw some super chats come in as well. And we're over an hour. We got to close this up. But go ahead, Aaron. Your turn.
Okay, Colin Andrew forgot what the YouTube channel was to check out. Jeff Meacham Network, the one and only Jeff Meacham Network, with all the great content from good old JM Jeff Meacham. Jeff Meacham Network, Jeff Meacham Network, Jeff Meacham Network. I hope Jeff liked that. Anyways, Sean Garner sent in a $5 super chat. So thank you very much, Sean, and thank you for your patience. CM Punk and Cody Rhodes will both become champions at WrestleMania. I mean, I would not rule that out. I think that's definitely a possibility. I did see a comment in the chat room about how it's not going to happen because they're both ex-AEW guys. Keep in mind that CM Punk was in WWE for 8 to 9 years before he left.
And Cody was too.
Cody was there from 2006 all the way to 2016. He was in WWE for a full decade. He was in AEW for what, 3 years?
2 3 years.
Poor Sean Garner. He's been clamoring for Roman to lose his title to me on social media now for at least 2 years. Man, he's really had to wait this one out.
Now, let's talk about Roman Reigns and what's going to happen next. Randy Orton challenged Roman Reigns, and Roman said no. And then we had AJ Styles attack LA Knight. I'm not going to go into the details about the SmackDown spoilers, but my gut feeling is it will still be Roman Reigns versus Randy Orton one-on-one at the Royal Rumble. Could they do a four-way? Yes, it's possible. We'll have to see how things play out over the next few weeks, but I feel like they're going to do the one-on-one match with Roman Reigns and Randy Orton. They've already planted the seeds for it. Reigns will obviously beat Orton. I'm not doubting that at all. I think Roman Reigns will. I'm pretty confident. I'm 99.9% sure Roman Reigns will get to WrestleMania as champion and probably lose to Cody Rhodes. But you never know. They might feel the temptation. Hey, he could beat Hulk Hogan if we just hold it out a little bit longer. But I think he's going to lose. Noah, you say something?
I mean, I'm just laughing at that. Just all.
I think Roman's going to drop the title by WrestleMania, and we'll see. Maybe they'll do something at Elimination Chamber, maybe not. But I think the time is coming soon, and where Solo Sikoa ends up, that remains to be seen. I still think we're going to get Jey Uso versus Jimmy at WrestleMania. Maybe it's Solo versus Randy Orton at WrestleMania. Maybe it's LA Knight versus AJ Styles at WrestleMania. Like there's a lot of new matches potentially that have been teased just off of SmackDown and the next SmackDown, which I'm not going to talk about because of the spoilers. But that's one good thing about WWE is they've kept us guessing about what's to come. And I feel like they've done a better job than AEW. Other than the Devil's storyline, like there hasn't really been a whole lot of, gee, I wonder what's going to happen with this. You know, you got the tournament, which has been interesting in that regard, but not at the level of what WWE's been doing with really giving you some twists and turns. And I think they've been really been doing a tremendous job at planning things out far in advance. Like I feel like they've already figured out WrestleMania quite a while ago. And they're like, okay, what can we do to throw people off a little bit and make them think, well, wait a minute, maybe this is not what they're doing. And I think they've done an effective job with that. We do have a few more super chats here, which we'll get to real quick. Matt Phillips Reviews sent in a $5 super chat, says, the scenario Virtue gave would be a clean win for Cody. It's just good storytelling. It's like Hangman versus Kenny from a few years back. I mean, you would agree with that?
Hey, I mean, why not? I said it.
Right. So you said it, and he brought up Hangman and Kenny. Very similar scenario. And I agree. I don't think the Bloodline should be involved at WrestleMania. I really think that by that point, Solo should break away from Roman completely. And Roman's on his own for the match with Cody. And he's like, I'm going to beat you anyway. I don't need the Bloodline. Walter?
Yeah, I was going to just add, it'll be good if they don't use the Bloodline and he loses, because now Solo and Jimmy can say, look, you couldn't do it without us, you see? And then that furthers the dissension. Like, look, we don't need you. You need us type thing. And then you can go off of that. And then I just wanted to pick about the last thing with the Hogan and Roman. Yeah, you can't have them holding on to the titles because what you're going to do is whoever beats them and wins, no matter what, their title reign is going to be disappointing because it's never going to live up to what Roman did with the title. So even if Cody finishes the story, it's not going to live up to Roman's title reign. It's going to be disappointing because what are you going to do? Have him hold the title for 4 months? Then we're going to be like, that was a crappy reign. Like, because it's not going to match Roman's. Like, no matter what you do now, you're kind of stuck with whoever wins the title is going to have an underwhelming title reign.
This guy?
Well, the follow-up to that, quick research, since Roman's at 12:05 and WrestleMania's not till April, I mean, pretty much his best that it's April 2nd. I think they can still just pull it off, just get him to Hogan's thing and then let him lose it at SummerSlam. You can cause some shenanigans to stop Cody from getting the title shot or whatever and
never
bring
know.
it to SummerSlam. Like that's what I'm saying. You're right there. Like if I'm almost at the finish line. Oh, I tripped, I fell. Like that's stupid. Just let him get to passing Hogan thing, and on top of it, not saying it's anything wrong with Hogan having his thing, but this is going to be a new level, and the WWE loves to replace the previous records.
I just think they wanted to get to 1,000. I think they got to that number, and now it's fine. Like I get it, like because then you got Hogan. What's the next one? Backlund or
just stop at Hogan.
I'm just saying, but like, so what does getting Hogan even mean? Getting third place? So there's no need. There's no need for it. He got to 1,000. That's all that matters. So that's just what I think. It doesn't have to be held.
Yeah, I agree. Again, I mean, at the end of the day, people are going to buy a shirt that has 1,000 on it more than a shirt that says 1,200 on it.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, Aaron, other super chats?
Building Nexus sent in a $2 super chat, says, praying that Roman Reigns beats Randy Orton clean.
Yeah,
and if anybody's going to put him over clean, it would be Randy Orton. Like, he's a pro. But, I mean, it wouldn't shock me if they do the usual outside interference. So we'll see what happens with that. And Psycho Jet Black said, is the name of the channel the Rift Aronson Network? You son of a bitch. No, it's the Jeff Meacham Network.
Oh, Lord, here we go again.
And Psycho Jet Black sent in a $2 super chat. Thank you, Psycho Jet Black. Says, what if the devil is Dolph Ziggler / Nick Nemeth? I mean,
never know.
It could be. It might be, but I feel like it's going to be the people you would expect. It's going to be Adam Cole. He's faking the injury. Adam Cole, Britt Baker, and the Kingdom are all in cahoots. It's going to be them, in my opinion. It could be MJF,
except he really did have an injury, right?
He did.
Yeah, but they could say, No,
I know. But so they definitely would have to wait on this.
Yeah, but
because he had surgery allegedly or whatever.
I feel like the reveal is going to happen at World's End, but we'll see. Maybe not. Maybe they hold off to Revolution or whenever Adam Cole is better, and that's why they're trying to drag this out right now, so Adam Cole can rest up. Walter?
It's fun to speculate about who it is, but I don't think it can be any of the released WWE superstars because technically, even though it was under a mask, you put them on before the 90 days ran out. You'll cause hell with that.
But that wasn't them under the mask in those segments, so technically
I know you can say it, but that's what I hate the storylines like that. Let it be whoever you had under the mask originally.
Yeah. Well, see, the thing is, the first thing they did, it looked like a woman. It looked like Britt Baker. It was a very skinny person. I mean, it could have been Adam Cole, but it was probably Britt Baker. That's why I feel like it's Adam Cole and Britt Baker. Remember, Adam Cole was doing the whole stabbing you in the back gesture to MJF. It was very subtle. I think that was their initial plan for MJF and Adam Cole to feud, and Cole was going to turn heel on him and betray the one friend that MJF had. And I still think that's where they're going. This whole devil thing was because of Adam Cole getting hurt. I don't think it's Jack
Perry would be the biggest fart in church.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
who's the
sorry, I mean, it's just
who's the one in the wheelchair with the neck brace?
Roderick Strong. But what I'm saying is Adam Cole is going to be the one that orchestrated it, and the Kingdom were all in cahoots.
Kyle O'Reilly also part of it if he's returning back from injury, and that's undisputed.
And we'll see. Maybe that could help AEW try to rebound and gain some momentum if they can build up a strong heel group. I mean, that's what MJF needs. I think that's what's been lacking right now. MJF doesn't really have that strong opposition, and they really need something with him.
I'll be happy with whoever it is, as long as not Khan taking off the mask saying it was me all along. As long as they don't do that shit, I'm happy.
Well, remember when Dixie Carter went heel in Impact Wrestling? That went over real well, right?
Let's not talk about that. I'm just saying.
All right. Well, we're done for this week. We're caught up, Virtue. A fun show tonight. So go ahead and let's start wrapping it up.
Let's do our plugs. All right, this guy experience. Let's get out of here. Tired.
Okay. All right. Well, I don't have any personal ones, but as usual, my fiance Heather's Crochet Corner on Facebook and Instagram. She actually gave me something like a decent hat she created. She also created this little monster. It's this crazy, scary looking thing. So yeah, go check it out. But I'm done.
All right. Thanks for being on. And of course, Noah Foster, the simple man. Go ahead, man.
Always a pleasure. I'll see you all next time. Happy holidays. Again, follow me if you choose on the Twitter and on YouTube and in Foster1916 for all things wrestling. For again, I am but a simple man and a lifelong fan of professional wrestling. Damn it. Who only wish to encourage you to just enjoy life and enjoy professional wrestling too. It's as simple as that. Happy holidays.
Thank you as always. And of course, now the reliable one, Walter Cruz.
You didn't digress, Noah?
No.
You can catch me on Instagram at Cowfire Farms, on the X at Walter Alice Cruz, and at the Rage of Wrestling YouTube channel. Check out the UFC 296 watch along, which I filmed last night, so it's on there. And thanks for having me on the review, and that's it for me as well.
Thank you. All right, Aaron.
All right, I have a few plugs here, so I'll try to get through this quickly. First up, make sure you guys vote in the 2023 NoDQ.com year-end awards. Almost all the polls are up now. We still have a few to come over the next few days, but I think 17 of the 20 are up now. NoDQ.com/awards. Get your votes in. And this coming Thursday night, the final No DQ&A video of the year. Send me your questions. We'll talk about the year of 2023, what's to come in 2024. Q&A Thursday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. And then the following Thursday, same time, 8 p.m., 5 p.m. Pacific, we'll be doing the next No DQ review. And of course, you know I have to do one more plug for good old JM, Jeff Meacham, the Jeff Meacham Network, the multiverse of media. Jeff Meacham, Casa D18 Studios, Noah Foster, of course, Jay Hebert, Side 95, NoDQ.com. Greg Cherry Brand. Greg Cherry is a great guy. Check out his channel. And the Rangers of Wrestling. Check all those channels out. The multiverse of media at the Jeff Meacham Network and all the great partners involved with good old JM Jeff Meacham. So, Jeff, love you, man. All in good fun. Just trying to help you out. Give you some love, courtesy.
Did you get that super chat?
Review. No, let me get to that right now.
Ah!
All right. Oh, God. Psycho Jet Black, tell us more about the Jeff Meacham Network.
Oh, Lord.
Well, the Jeff Meacham Network started as a little show called Extreme Mayhem in 2002. And then it grew to a video show, Extreme Mayhem Video. And then it became Talk Wrestling in 2007. And we had various projects. And then eventually Jeff Meacham branched out. Like any tree, it starts off small and it just gets bigger and bigger. And it grows, and that's what happened with the Jeff Meacham Network. It is a tree with various fruits, apples, oranges, bananas, whatever you like. The Jeff Meacham Network has it. All right. On that note,
There you go.
we're good.
Thanks for having
FollowManX.com
me on.
if you
We love you,
dare.
man. Thank you for being on.
At NoDQ_virtue, where I am just so outspoken and get under your skin on social media. You'll love to follow me just to unfollow me. It happens all the time, but we'll make it a good time. So for Aaron Rift, for This Guy Experience, for Walter Cruz, for Noah Foster, and the entire NoDQ galaxy, I am Virtue, the moderator of the NoDQ review, and we will see you again on December 28th. That's a Thursday night. Merry Christmas, everybody. We'll see you shortly after that. Good night, everybody.
Have a good night, folks.